and let us all do we can to build a better future.
With that being said, let's get started with our first segment of the day. So censorship, it's alive and well, and its hypocrisy is being seen firsthand. And thankfully for our wonderful World Wide Web, where we all have connections with each other, we're seeing firsthand how independent media, free thinkers are being silenced. We're also seeing how, once again, the liberal hive mind is melting down and now worshiping and praising Dick Cheney? I know, but don't worry, folks. We got a whole hodgepodge of videos, but first I want to bring up this video where Sabrina has a fantastic interview with the outstanding Kim Iversen. Now, for those of you who weren't paying attention or are just finding out, Kim Iversen was on Rising. She was a very successful host on that network. Unfortunately, the higher-ups at Rising decided to remove her off the show. Didn't have her in there when they were questioning Fauci. And I have to say, look, the last thing I'm going to do to anyone on our show or any special guest co-host is tell them, well, you can't be on the show. You can't do this. I mean, there's got to be really legitimate reasons why certain things might have to be changing here and there. But the reasonings that Rising had to give to Kim Iversen were BS. It's similar to, again, just how the corporate establishment wants to control the narrative. So before we play this video, I mean, I know that you two had a chance to check out the video. So Lauren, starting off with you, and then you, Tara, your thoughts on this initially before we get started.
I mean, it's getting to a point where it's just kind of exhausting. Mm-hmm. And like you said, like there needs to be like a legitimate reason to kick someone off or to end a thing or not let someone participate in something, especially something that they've been following. Mm-hmm. Like, it's just, like I said, it's exhausting. I'm getting really, really tired of story after story after story of people getting dropped for no reason, for like the higher ups just like steamrolling over everything and the wishes of the public and not giving any information out. And it's frustrating. And I don't know where my like line is going to be where I actually flip out about it, but I think I'm fast approaching it.
Fantastic.
I have to go with what Lauren said, but even further, Kim Iversen has provided a lot of legitimate questions about many things that the mainstream media is trying to shove down people's throats. And the censorship is just off the charts. And I mean, the fact that they wouldn't allow her to even interview and ask the questions, it reminds me of what Matt Taibbi had said earlier this year when he was referring to COVID. He said, we're not even allowed to have the discussion. Well, if we're not even allowed to have the discussion, how can we get to the truth? And what I really like about Kim Iversen's presence in this space is that she is not about opinion journalism, but she's about raising questions and discussing. And, if we just stay in this sort of propaganda bubble, we're never going to actually learn the truth that's not, somehow motivated by corporate profits. So, yeah, we're in a tough time right now with censorship. And I think anybody who's got an independent channel or, ways that they're trying to get forward, their information is being shut down by big tech, who's colluding with corporate media to keep us propagandized, keep us quiet, keep us, and
down in our own separate bubbles, too.
Right,
everyone's in our own
Echo
little
chambers,
place, and no one is, like, allowing anyone to try and pop that over, just to be like, hey, maybe we can have a discussion about this. And like, it's very, she's trying to, she wanted to.
Yes. The demonetization too is stunning. I mean, you saw Jackson Hinkle's been shut down. You saw, Graham Phillips is a British, journalist, investigative journalist. His house has been seized and his bank account shut down because of his accurate reporting in Donbass. And because it's not following, the NATO and U.S. intelligence talking points. So they're taking severe actions in Europe, threatening prison, whatever. Here, they're starting to demonetize. So what's next? Criminalizing speech, because I think we're just about there. So we want to keep Kim Iversen, let's support her independent channel and let's give her, some support.
Let's go ahead and play this video. Again, outstanding interview from Sabrina, also known as Savvy Sabs. Let's play this video.
I promised my audience that I would not be censored or held back or limited in any way. And this clearly is that. That is what's happening here. So They made their choice.
I just have to say it kind of reminded me when Bernie Sanders was going to do an interview on Crystal, Kyle and Friends. And with the exception that
Kyle wasn't in it. I told them about that. And I said, this will be the same. Like, you cannot, and they were like, oh, we didn't know about that. And I was like, yes. Like, how is Kyle excluded from his own show for an interview with Bernie? That's not worth it. All it's going to do is give you a bad reputation. Audiences don't like that. And not only that, but, Fauci and Bernie, it's not like you're getting like someone who never does an interview and they're like coming out and they're finally going to talk and you're going to be the person they speak to. This isn't an interview with Julian Assange, for example. Like, this is Fauci's everywhere. He talks to everybody all the time. You know what this guy's going to say. This isn't something, there's no bombshell here with this guy. And the same thing with Bernie, even. Like, you know what Bernie's going to say. There's no bombshell. So why sacrifice your show's integrity and then have people bring it up like you just did, like, remember when, and that made Crystal look bad ultimately in that situation. It's like, why did you go through with that? Why did you guys go through with that request and say, okay, we'll bend and we won't have the other host whose name's on the title? I mean, at least with Rising, my name's not on the title, but my face was front and center. So it's like, why? So it's the same. Like, why would you exclude a host from their own show? I mean, audiences will just not trust you after that. Even if it's just a little bit that they don't trust you, you can't afford that.
I mean, did they try to like get you to come back like after? I'm just curious because like you had viral videos on Rising.
There were conversations and but the damage had been done, unfortunately, at that point. I tried everything I could in advance to stop that, to stop the interview from happening without me, because I knew the audience would just not take it. And quite honestly, before I even said anything about not being with Rising anymore or any of that, I didn't say a word. I was silent, and we watched those comments come in on YouTube, in the comment section. And normally they say, like, we're used to like the whole, where's Kim? Kim should be in on this conversation. Like, those are comments that happen in a lot of segments. But this comment section, the audience was like, that's it. I'm done with you guys. Like, how dare you do this to Kim? They all knew what had happened. It didn't take me saying a word about anything for the audience to figure out that I had been that I had been omitted from that interview, that I'd been prevented from being a part of it. And now the audience didn't know why. They maybe blamed Fauci's team. But even then, the audience then blamed Rising because they felt like even if Fauci's team excluded Kim, you guys shouldn't have done that. You guys should have just had her in there anyway and said, screw you guys, or not done the interview at all. Like, the audience already was saying all of that. So yeah, there were some conversations and I just said, look at the comments. It's already happening. There's only a couple ways for me to come back.
All right. So you can check out the full interview on Sabrina's YouTube channel as well. Be sure to support all independent media. But right off the bat, just from even hearing that conversation, it's something we've repeated on the show so many times that it's becoming a broken record at this point. Censorship is very real, and we see it in corporate media. Mainstream media is known for silencing those that speak out, especially remember during the height of the Iraq War, where it was deemed as a fact that there were WMDs in Iraq. And anyone that spoke out against it was deemed a traitor. They lost their show. They were automatically blacklisted. And it's continuing on now, even in this day and age. So Kim Iversen had every right to be on that show. At least she's speaking up and standing up for herself and actually has a backbone, unlike Kyle Kulinski, who on his own show was told to stand in the corner. See, now, Heartlands Media, Chicago Corner, we're never going to do that to our co-hosts. If anybody's going to come in here and start wagging their finger at us and telling us, oh, you can't have this person here, or you can't have this person here, I don't want to be on the show, well, then you're not going to be you're coming here onto our show to talk about who you are. But the fact that Kyle let that happen tells you the mindset that he has in regards towards, I guess, his image and also to his audience and supporters. At least Kim is standing with her supporters and also with her integrity. And if Rising's going to treat her like crap and dismiss her, well, then that's on Rising. They're going to lose a very important person and also lose a core audience. And that's how they're going to fall apart. And this is the problem when we have an establishment censorship narrative that only benefits a two-party system. Tara, we'll start off with you. Your thoughts initially.
Well, I mean, I think Kim Iversen, her work is superb, and they have just lost a really great contributor. And I don't know how they're going to come back from that because, again, they could have made such an easy choice by having her there, and the conversation would have been rich and it would have been interesting because she may have asked questions of Fauci that no one's asked, no one's dared ask. So yeah, I just think again, censorship is kind of been the theme ever since 2019, 2020 in particular, and it's amping up. I think the demonetization, people that have YouTube channels losing their monetary, being banned permanently. This is all kind of part of the same cesspool. So, we just need to keep trying. But what's hard too is all the platform jumping and trying to get your audience to come with you. But I think we have to do it. It's the only choice we have, right?
Agreed.
I mean, what do you think?
Well, go ahead, Lauren. Yeah. Please go ahead.
I was just going to say that if an independent media stations and if lesser corporate stations let themselves get drawn into that trap where they do drop a host for no reason or they just bow to the whim of the interviewee, then their trust is gone. And if we need sources of news that we can trust, and if they're constantly playing with that trust, it really, really hurts both the station and it hurts the audience as well, because they don't know where they can go. They don't know where to turn. And you lose so much integrity. You lose so much from one little step in that direction. And that's dangerous too, because that just makes it easier for the corporate media and the people who are in charge to press down the things that they don't want people to know, because no one trusts anybody else. So they go back to the things that they know.
Agreed 100%. And I also want to pull up something else here too, because here's the problem that we have with establishment media. They're going to rehabilitate anyone. And if anyone tries to break out of the narrative, try to stand up for themselves, speak their own mind, they're automatically demonized. See, CNN, Fox News, MSNBC, they're all the same. But to be fair, at least Fox News is entertaining because it's crap, because it's crap. And that's really about it. And I apologize for my language. I'm trying to be nice about here. First, I want to pull up this video. And before we do play it, I just want to read this tweet real quick. And it's fine if we don't pull it up, but it is from Jimmy Dore, who says, Cheney is a much bigger war criminal and has much more blood on his torturing hands than Trump. And let's face it, Trump is a scumbag too. This is a quote again from Jimmy. His pals in the military-industrial complex are currently trying to start two, not one, folks, two nuclear wars at once. And if there was any consistency to Twitter's censorship, this tweet would be labeled as dangerous misinformation. Liz Cheney, the daughter of Dick Cheney. Let's hear this video. Watch now, folks. The liberal media will so Kim is kicked off the rising, kicked off the hill for actually speaking truth to power, challenging the establishment. But see, the establishment wants to rehabilitate anyone. Remember, Ellen DeGeneres was dancing with George Bush Jr. Now everyone loves him. Mark my words.
And they hate her.
Yeah, true. That is true. But mark my words. Some celebrity is going to be dancing with Donald Trump, and everyone in the Vote Blue, no matter who crowd, will be in love with him all over again. Don't believe me? Hey, here's Dick Cheney. Watch this.
In our nation's 246-year history, there has never been an individual who is a greater threat to our republic than Donald Trump. He tried to steal the last election using lies and violence to keep himself in power after the voters had rejected him. He is a coward. A real man wouldn't lie to his supporters. He lost his election, and he lost big. I know it, he knows it, and deep down, I think most Republicans know it. Lynn and I are so proud of Liz for standing up for the truth, doing what's right, honoring her oath to the Constitution, when so many in our party are too scared to do so. Liz is fearless. She never backs down from a fight. There is nothing more important she will ever do than lead the effort to make sure Donald Trump is never again near the Oval Office. And she will succeed. I am Dick Cheney. I proudly voted for my daughter. I hope you will too.
I'm Liz Cheney, and I approve this message.
Stop. I don't want to see her. I don't want to see her. Oh my God. See, that's the problem. And everyone, the vote blue, no matter who crowd is just like, yeah, Dick Cheney's okay. George Bush Jr.'s okay. They're all good. See, this is why I'm saying you got to break away from the two-party system because we're all being made numb by it. And the issue and the other problem is corporate media too plays a huge role. It's telling Democratic voters and Republican voters who unfortunately are hypnotized by the establishment media that there are certain things that we could talk about, and you have to respect corporate media because they are authoritative. YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram have demonstrated firsthand how they show favoritism towards authoritative sources, even though a lot of these authoritative sources have gotten the stories wrong in the past. Case in point, I want to pull up this video from Matt Orfalea. Before we do, I just want to bring up the floor, though. This has to deal with the infamous Hunter Biden laptop. Tara, Lauren will start off. Tara will start off with you. Again, because what happened to Kim is unjust, but we see Dick Cheney getting rehabilitated. But we got to remind people again. Look, corporate media said that laptop was fake.
You know what, kid? I was going to ask you if corporate media, who went after me and used me as target practice, basically for I don't know all of 2020, part of 2019. And most of 2021. So does that mean I'll be rehabilitated if I put on a cowboy hat and talk directly into the camera like Dick Cheney? I don't know. What will, I mean, what does it take, right?
What would have to happen is some celebrity doing some kind of dancing
there
or something, some kind of playing a violin. That's how corporate media works.
That's how it works.
And then also you have to look at the camera and say, vote Democrat.
Oh,
there you
okay.
go. Or vote Republican. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I mean, well, that seemed a little pandering to me.
Yeah, a little.
Just in general. Like, capitalizing both on Liz's current popularity, because, I mean, I think she is doing a pretty good job with the hearings. Mm-hmm. But then, so it's like, it's been 15 years since Dick Cheney was in office, so let's put him on there because people are remembering, remember when, because the nostalgia glasses go on and then you forget all the stuff he actually did and the sheer horror that happened at Gitmo and all of that stuff that he was involved in, and Neil Gorsuch was too, but we don't talk about that either. Mm-hmm. But it's we've forgotten, and because he's he put on his that cowboy hat, like you said, it just reminded me of that cowboy catheter ad where it's
yeah,
that's the first thing I thought of. Right. So I was just oh, wait, why are you hearing from him? And I was oh, it's Dick Cheney. Okay, he looks different. But it's just capitalizing on the things that are currently popular and the current sway of people in order to, make them forget his war crimes.
The millions of people that died as a result of his,
Ugh.
Or the millions he made, right?
Yes.
Or the guy he shot when he was hunting.
Yeah. No one talks about that.
Yeah.
But let's refresh everyone and remind all of you that corporate media from MSNBC, MSDNC, or MSBS, to quote Roger Meadows, or either that CNN, ABC, CBS, New York Times.
Wait 1 second. Because I didn't answer your question about the Hunter Biden laptop.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
During the time, and you remember this because you had me on your show early on when a lot of people wouldn't, because my story was suppressed, right? My experience working for Joe Biden and what happened was suppressed. Well, then you had the Hunter Biden story popping up, the laptop story. Do you remember the New York Post was banned on Twitter? I don't know if I forget how long. Twitter and Facebook. Social media. And they were given so much, and it's been called legitimate reporting, and you haven't seen one retraction from corporate media. You haven't seen any more stories about it, except on Fox, where they've showed videos that have been legitimized of what is going on. And I mean, it's stunning, right? If you, like you said, unless you say blue no matter who, you don't exist.
So let's pull up this video. We'll just play a short minute of it. I'll tell when to phase and pause it. But again, folks, Matt Orfalea did a great collage video of this. If you're not supporting his work, he too is being wrongly censored. And of course, corporate media went to smear him. So let's enjoy some laughs before we play our final segment. It'll be a little dour of this first story segment, but nonetheless, let's get some good laughs in. Let's play it.
Evidence allegedly found on a laptop belonging to Biden.
Some sort of Russian disinformation campaign effort.
One eternity later.
Biden emails finally authenticated according to the New York Times.
Duh. It's rewind time.
It's a lie.
Altered or fake, unverified emails.
The story did not quite land due to the lack of verification.
Listen, can't be verified.
What can't be verified?
The laptop.
Why do you say that?
Well, because it can't be verified.
I don't even want to report this. This is one of the most powerful families in Washington.
Liz, I'm a journalist.
Okay, I would love if you guys would start doing that verification.
No, we're not going to do your work for you.
It's a journalist's job.
Not anymore.
For all we know, these emails are made up.
Not really stories, just pure distractions. No serious journalist should fall for it.
It's a journalist's job to find out if this is verified.
The bottom line is we cannot confirm the story.
Experts say the emails cannot be authenticated.
The mainstream media is not reporting on this story because we can't authenticate this material.
The Hunter Biden laptop material is genuine.
This is a classic example of the right-wing media machine.
It just lacks credibility. The fact that it appeared in the New York Post,
the only place low enough to put this orphan bastard story in print.
Obvious disinformation.
It is so obviously a Russian operation.
So obviously disinformation.
So obviously a Russian plot. Tell me why it's so obviously a Russian plot to you.
This is just classic textbook Soviet Russian tradecraft at work.
Right, exactly. And this is classic, very classic Russian disinformation tactic.
Your classic disinformation campaign.
We shouldn't look at it as anything other than a Russian disinformation operation.
Known Kremlin disinformation.
Russians would be my number one guess.
Obviously, Russia.
Russian disinformation operation.
Russian disinformation.
Pushing Russian disinformation.
It does bear the hallmarks of Russian disinformation.
Hunter Biden's story is Russian disinfo.
Hunter Biden's laptop looks like it's tied to Vladimir Putin in Moscow.
Is that laptop
Okay,
yours?
we'll stop it here. Again, more great stuff from Matt Orfala. It's an outstanding video collage. You can check out all these show notes, link in the description box below. Please play it, and please check them out in their full entirety. And this video will be clipped, but I use a live stream as a reference. Look, folks, I do have to end this segment on a sad note, and of course, I want to give the final words to both Lauren and Tara as well before when we play this video. But look, unfortunately, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but the censorship's going to get worse. Now, thankfully, Hardlands Media is still on YouTube. We're still doing it as strong as we can. I wish that YouTube would return back to a meritocracy, but that's why we're on Rockfin, Odyssey, Rumble, and Twitch. We're not for all of you supporting our network. We would not fundamentally exist, and we are so grateful for all the support. But the reason why I say it's going to get bad is because there are other outlets that are still telling all of you, well, you can't trust the sources. Let's play this video, unfortunately, and I'm sorry to put you all through this. Maybe I'll play just a few minutes of it, but that's it. Let's play it, folks.
I'm going to break my own ground rule. Jimmy Dore, keeps accusing me of, taking money from NATO. He's insane. He's literally out of his mind, batshit crazy. Accusing people of things that you have no evidence of. I personally took $20 million from Jeffrey Katzenberg simply because I didn't immediately fall in line and say, this is fantastic. I don't even want to discuss it. 100% support it. We can't have a discussion about anything else. We need to do this and let's move on. That's a war criminal. That's not a good faith person. Well, I think there are people who agree with him, right? And I'm interested in having a discussion with them. Not interested in having a discussion with someone who has no evidence for anything and goes around, slinging mud and causing these ridiculous divisions within, a group of people who overwhelmingly agree with one another on these issues.
Right. And I think there's something bigger than just any one personality. I think it's that you have to be able to honestly assess who is on your side and who isn't. And frankly, I don't think it's that hard to figure out who's on your side and who isn't. In other words,
great, and that's why we're pausing you.
It's pretty clear who the.
That's why. All right, David. That's why you're done. So here's the real truth of it all. It is easy to assess who is on your side and who's not, because we, as presenters of information, all of independent media, here's what I expect from the Harlan's media audience. All of you to take this information and come to your own conclusions. All of you have to determine what is right and what is wrong. You shouldn't be listening to any outlet or any politician or any authoritative figure and just take them for their word for it. No. What I want from my audience, and this is me demanding you, come up with your own conclusions. We're not all going to agree with each other, and we can't be puppets and willingly obey one party or one media outlet or one leader, because that's not how things work. We all know what's right and wrong, and sadly we're being ruled by a two-party system that will lie to you, that has a corporate media that will go to bat for it, and we got people who want to smear others like Jimmy Dore or Kim Iversen or anyone else in independent media, how they smeared you, Tara, of course, and it's just not right. Now, obviously people still have Trump derangement syndrome. People are still shell-shocked from Trump. He's the orange boogeyman. Remember, the Democrats and the Clinton campaign boosted that jagoff to where he's at. And it's also corporate media and the Democratic establishment and a lot of coveted blue checkmark people who determine what we can and cannot say about COVID-19 or whistleblowers, which is what happened to Kim Iversen. And at least Kim Iversen, if you want to file somebody, integrity. You don't have to trust her word for word or follow her or take her word for everything like that, but at least learn from her example what it means to have a backbone and stand up for yourself. And also same thing for everyone else here. Look, you got to be authentic. And when you're in media, you have to speak truth to power. We have a responsibility here to inform people about what is happening and how we all can get to that better future. Lauren, Tara, I think Lauren will start off with you. Your thoughts.
Yeah, just basically, I fully agree with you. We have to be willing to speak truth to power. We have to be willing to stand up for ourselves, and even like just deal with people who are going to sling the mud, like she's mad about. People slinging mud all over the place. It's like, okay, well, maybe do less shady things then, and there's nothing to sling mud about. But we can't stay in these echo chambers that we've been staying in. We have to be able to pop those bubbles, and we have to be able to have these open and honest discussions, because that's the only way that we can grow at all, is you have to be able to stop and listen to somebody. And if they're saying something that's completely nonsense, then we have to be able to show them how, in ways that doesn't make them feel like an idiot, because that's just going to make them double down. And we have to be able to, be the bigger person and be willing to be wrong sometimes also. And like, that's the other thing too with like the Hunter Biden stuff. No one is willing to be wrong about anything. Everyone is just like, well, no, we're just going to shove this other story at you instead. So you have, and again, that goes back to the integrity and like finding trust in your audience. You have to be able to be like, oh, okay, well, working with the information we had at the time, that's what I thought, but new information to come out, and be on top of it. You have to be on top of it, because otherwise you lose that trust, and that trust is integral to actually having an informed society.
Agreed. All right.
Well, I think what's been happening particularly with mainstream, is you were seeing an uptick of propaganda, and it's not working. I think there was a poll, like 70% of Americans right now do not trust mainstream media. There's a reason for that. They should be paying attention to that. But of course they're not, just like they're not paying attention to Biden's polling, which is, I think, now down to 37% or even 28%. I can't, and they fudge it up. I mean, they fudge up the numbers, so it's probably down even further. And he's talking about, of course, running in 2024, which is my own personal nightmare, but everyone else's as well, right? But this is the thing. You were going back to what Lauren was saying about echo chambers. It is really important that we have discussions, and we'll have disputes, and we'll have, fissures like about Chicago or New York pizza, right? Those are important fissures to have. No, but seriously. But it's okay to have these disagreements and then sort it out. But what's not okay is when you're given a narrative and then, like, as Lauren pointed out with bringing up Kim Iversen, someone being eliminated because they're going outside the talking points, because they're pushing for truth. And, the right now in America, they're pushing very hard the military-industrial complex. That is what we're feeding. That's what all the corporations are feeding into. And unfortunately, big tech is so complicit that we have to reimagine how we can approach it so that we can rise and push past big tech And that's the challenge. And, you know, Kit, you're facing it with your show every day. Right? It's like whack-a-mole trying to find the platform that's not going to censor and deplatform you and defund you. And like in Kim's case, what people don't, I mean, think about this. She had a job, a secure position, and now she's independent. It's hard to make a living doing this work and truth-telling, content creating, or investigative journalism in her part. It is very difficult work and very low paid usually. To give up that gig, that did take tremendous integrity.